Wikileaks founder Julian Assange, whose website sensationally published thousands of classified US government cables, has become a wanted man across the globe. Assange and Australian journalists being hunted for a raft of political and allegedly criminal activities. His rise to global prominence started earlier this year after Wikileaks published top-secret government documents and revealed all those embarrassing details of America's foreign conflicts and what their diplomats were saying. Last week, his stock among the American administration plummeted even further when his website released the private thoughts of more of those diplomats on a range, as we were talking about earlier on, of controversial topics. And his lawyer, Mark Stevens, is with me now.
Morning.
Good morning. Let me ask you a couple of things about Mr. Assange's position itself. He is facing what have been described as alleged rape allegations from Sweden. And there is a drive to make him go to Sweden to face those. What is your reaction to the seriousness of this charge? Because it appears on the face of it to be very serious indeed.
It does, and of course, as people here would understand, rape is a serious charge. In Sweden, it's quite bizarre, though, because the prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, the Keir Starmer, the director of public prosecutions in Sweden, dropped the entire case against him, saying there was absolutely nothing for him to face back in September. And then, a few weeks ago, after the intervention of a Swedish politician, a new prosecutor, not in Stockholm, where Julian and these women had been, but in Gothenburg, began a new case, which of course has resulted in these warrants and of course the Interpol red notice being put out across
So you're saying it's basically a political stunt?
It does seem to be a political stunt. I mean, I have, and his Swedish lawyer, have been trying to get in touch with the prosecutors since August. Now, usually it's the prosecutor who does the pursuing, not the pursued. And in this particular case, Julian Assange has tried to vindicate himself, has tried to meet with the prosecutor to have his good name restored. His name has been comprehensively traduced.
Do you expect a warrant to be issued then?
I think a warrant was issued on Thursday by reports. We've asked for it, and we've been told that we've been ignored at this point. We haven't been given a copy.
Of course, no one knows. Well, you know where he is, presumably,
yes,
at the moment. We read that he's in fear of his life. Is that hysteria?
I think that it's interesting to note that people as high up the American tree as Sarah Palin have called for him to be hunted down by American special forces like the Taliban and assassinated. We've seen a number of suggestions that he should be assassinated, again from credible sources around the world. And this is all about a man who is a journalist. He received, unbidden, an electronic brown envelope, the brown envelope that the Pentagon Papers and journalists like you receive every day of the year.
Sadly not, but I take your point.
Yeah, but of course this particular journalist has put it out, and what they are doing is criminalising him, criminalising journalistic activity, and we've seen that move to universities and civil service.
Now, another thing that we read today is that he has a further file of even more damaging and explosive information, which he is keeping as a kind of insurance policy.
Yeah, this isn't in relation to the Swedish matter. That sort of stands alone. It's because he's had these huge number of cyber attacks on Wikileaks, and of course the organisation wants to defend itself. At the moment, only 261 cables have been released out of 250,000. And of course, in
is there more damaging material? I mean, more damaging than we've seen so far, waiting to go?
I think there's equally material of equal importance in terms of news gathering.
And is this going to be used by Wikileaks as a kind of threat? Close us down and see what we'll do next.
Well, I think the problem is that they have been the subject of these cyber attacks, they've been the subject of censorship around the world, and they need to protect themselves. And this is, I think, what they believe to be a thermonuclear device, effectively, in the electronic age.
Presumably the police also know where Mr. Assange is. Are you waiting for the knock on the door for a deportation case?
No.
You don't think he'll be deported?
The police know where he is. The Swedish prosecutor knows where he is, and she could ring up at any moment. And of course, the problem with that is that if you're the woman who's made a complaint, or indeed if you're Julian Assange and your name has been traduced so comprehensively, why on earth don't you pick up the phone and have a meeting? He's not been charged with anything. He's only wanted for interview. So why not have that interview by consent rather than this show trial?
And therefore, if there is an attempt to deport your client to Sweden, will you be fighting that?
Well, I'm really rather worried by the political motivations that appear to be behind this. I mean, I've dealt with cases of some high political nature in the past, and it doesn't escape my attention that Sweden was one of those lickspittle states which used its resources and its facilities for rendition flights. And given the bellicose statements coming out of America, with John Bellinger, the man who approved
So you think if he goes to Sweden, he may be sent to the States?
Certainly, my mind's very open about that.
And you may fight it on that basis?
Certainly.
All right, for now, thank you very much indeed.